Good morning, Abby. It's Wednesday when I'm recording this, and I am returning to my book review era out of spite. So, do you ever have a time where you uh, consume a piece of media, whether it be a video game, a movie, a book, and you really like it, or at the very least are intrigued by aspects of it, so you go online trying to find other reviewers who agree with you, and instead you're greeted by people saying that, like, the thing is awful and terrible, and you kind of just want to, like, smack all the reviewers and commenters who are trashing this thing that you like. Yeah, that's what this video is. This is Beast by Lisa Jensen. I got it a couple of years ago, I think, but I only got around to reading it like, I think 3 months ago. I think I read it during a Christmas break. Basically, I read it, I thought it was pretty good, and then I went online and saw that everyone hated it. And at the time, I kind of wanted to make like a response video to like specifically, I was seeing a lot of negative comments on Goodreads. I wanted to make like a response video to those Goodreads commenters, but I just like didn't have the time or energy to do that. But I'm doing it now because it's spring break, and I don't know, having free time makes me go insane. Before we start, content warning for this book. I'm just gonna tell you straight up, the inciting incident of this book is a sexual assault. And that's the issue that a lot of people have with this book. This book is essentially Beauty and the Beast, but the prince is a terrible person, but then also the beast is a good person. And one of the ways that the prince is displayed to be a bad person is that he assaults the main character, who is not Belle. I'm not explaining this well. Hold on, let me just give you a synopsis. Also, I will be spoiling this entire book in this review because a lot of Goodreads problems with it is the ending, so I have to talk about the ending. But if you don't want to, if you want to not know the ending and want to read the book for yourself and just want a spoiler for your review, my review is, it's good. It has problems, what book doesn't, but like, it's worth your time. I enjoyed it. Synopsis. Our main character is a servant girl named Lucy. She has been sent to work at the Chateau Beaumont because her like family's poor, and I think there's also some references to her stepfather being a pervert, so she wanted to get away from him, so pleasant. When she first arrives, the master of the house, the Chevalier, is not present, but he shows up a couple weeks in, and Lucy is taken by how attractive he is. However, it's revealed pretty quickly that the Chevalier is like kind of a douchebag because he's like bleeding his the town that he has like control over or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't know how French aristocracy works in the 1700s or whatever this takes place. But basically his like area that he has within his jurisdiction, he's like bleeding them dry of tax money. He doesn't care about their plights. He's just kind of like a shallow, terrible person. But Lucy still thinks he's cute. So the Chevalier's name is Jean-Loup, and an interesting thing about this book is that the way that Lucy refers to him changes as she goes throughout the story. She starts by just calling him the Chevalier, and then she moves, and then she like transitions over to Jean-Loup. And his full name is like ridiculously long and complicated. Let me see if I can find it. Jean-Loup Christian Henri Lenoir Chevalier de Beaumont. There it is. So one night, Lucy goes out into the chateau at night alone because her supervisor is like this really strict, domineering woman, and Lucy remembers that there was like a plate that she left out of its cupboard that day, and it's literally at the point where she's like, if my supervisor finds that plate, she will probably fire me. She's absurd. And while Lucy is out and about, she runs into Jean-Loup, who is quite drunk. Lucy is carrying like a candle with her to light the way, and Jean-Loup's like, my light, because he doesn't have a candle. He's just stumbling around in the dark like a weirdo, and he's like, what is the name of my savior? And she's like, Lucy. And he says, my little candle, because if you don't know, Lucy comes from a Latin word that means light. Jean-Loup is like, could I borrow you and your candlelight to guide me back to my chambers? And Lucy says, okay. And when he takes her to his bedroom, he rapes her. And it's upsetting. like the author does a really good job of conveying Lucy's emotions about the event. Lucy not only does she feel like violated by the act itself, and she's really mad at Jean-Loup, but she also like kind of hates herself for it, because she says that like all a poor woman has is her virtue, and once her virtue is taken from her, she's nothing. So she really like beats herself up about this, and makes it seem like she's a horrible person, and like the only thing that matters about her is her virginity, which I would imagine is probably unfortunately similar to things that actual assault victims, survivors go through. She also describes how Lucy runs into Jean-Loup a couple times in the chateau, and like she describes the way that Jean-Loup looks at her as being like very possessive, like that of someone looking at an object rather than a person. And Jean-Loup even has like a smug energy to him, and it makes you want to punch him. So we don't like Jean-Loup here. Eventually, Lucy realizes that she has fallen pregnant from this, because, of course, Jean-Loup wouldn't use protection or pull out because, he's an asshole. And Lucy really does not want a pregnancy, because if her domineering boss finds out that she's pregnant, then she's going to, you know, call her a whore and kick her out of her job or whatever, and then she'll have to go back to her parents, who will probably have to disown her for having a kid out of wedlock. And so Lucy's like, well, guess I should kill myself. Lucy is going to jump into a little river that runs outside of the chateau, but she gets cold feet, but then accidentally falls in anyway. She is rescued by a woman named Sophie, who self-identifies as a wise woman, but, she's magical, possibly Wiccan. She listens to Lucy's story and gives her a magic abortion, no pain required. And Sophie's like, yo, that dude sounds like he sucks. I'm gonna make sure that he gets some payback for what he's done to you and many other women like you. Because that's another thing I didn't mention. Like, it is heavily implied by both Mayor Sophie and people within the chateau that Lucy is not Jean-Loup's first victim. A few days later, a beautiful young woman named Lady Honore, let's go with Honore, she shows up at the chateau, and she's like, yo, I'm traveling across the area to go meet my betrothed husband, but there's about to be like a huge storm, so like, can I crash at your place? And the Chevalier is like, yay. And then she's only in there for like 2 days before Jean-Loup attempts to assault her. Lucy has not deduced who she is, despite just talking to Mayor Sophie a couple days ago, so she goes to try and stop this. But Lady Honoree's like, plot twist, I'm Mayor Sophie in disguise, you're a terrible person, get cursed. This book's interpretation of the Beast is, like, his physical appearance, I mean, is very interesting, because he's like a fusion of all sorts of different animals. He's got like his back feet are like, have like goat hooves. He's got like devil horns. He has wings and like raptor feathers going out across his back. He's an entire mess. Mayor Sophie goes to Lucy and is like, "What do you want?" And Lucy, like, she's like burning with hatred because of, you know, just seeing that like Jean-Loup was willing to do this to another woman. And so Lucy essentially says, I want to be able to watch him suffer. I want that as my revenge. And so Mayor Sophie turns Lucy into a candlestick. And Lucy is happy about this because, to paraphrase, candlesticks can't be assaulted. Unlike in the Disney version, the servants of the place aren't cursed. They all, like, flee the castle as soon as they see the Beast Man. So it's just Jean-Loup the Beast and Lucy. For the first few days, Jean-Loup is very panicked, very rageful. He's like throwing stuff. He's like slashing his portraits like the Beast in the Disney movie does. And eventually he like sees Lucy and gets mad at her, so he locks her in like a cupboard on like the attic floor of the chateau. And that is where Lucy stays for several weeks, possibly months, because important thing, you know, like in the Disney movie, like Lumiere can hop around or whatever, Lucy can't move. She's stationary. One day, she sees the Beast again. He, like, gets her out of the cupboard, obviously. But this Beast is, visually still the same. But personality-wise, he's very different. He's very kind to Lucy. He's very gentle with everything around him. He doesn't break things. He looks at, like, the family portraits on the wall of the chateau, like, wistfully, as if he doesn't remember these people. He cares for the rose garden that's at front, whereas Jean-Loup, like, couldn't give less of a fuck about him. And it takes Lucy a very long time to trust the Beast, because for a very long time she's like, this is Jean-Loup playing some trick. He's pretending to have amnesia so that he can, like, befriend me and be mean to me or something. But after a while, she comes to the conclusion that Beast is not Jean-Loup, that, like, they are two separate entities. And this is eventually confirmed because Lucy eventually trusts in him enough to tell her story, and Beast is like, yo, I've never heard of this Jean-Loup dude in my life. He sounds like he sucks. I would fight him if I could. I should mention, Lucy can't talk, but she can, like, telepathically communicate with Beast, and to some degree with other people, but mostly it's just with Beast. Lucy and Beast are getting along very well. They're becoming good friends, and then one day a merchant shows up at the chateau. Everything's going fine. Beast is, like, arranging stuff to because Beast wants to see people. He doesn't like being alone, so he's, like, arranging a nice dinner for this merchant, and everything's going well, but then the merchant tries to steal a flower, and Beast is like, yo, what the fuck? These flowers are, like, the only form of beauty that I can have around me. They're the only thing I've been, like, putting my heart and soul into taking care of in this entire chateau. Rude. You probably see where this is going. They strike a deal, and a few days later, the person who returns to the chateau is a lovely young girl named Rose. Beast and Rose are also getting along really well. But then Lucy remembers the way that the curse breaks is if Beast can get a maiden to agree to marry him. And since Beast came when Jean-Loup went away, then if Rose and Beast get married, then will Beast disappear and Jean-Loup reappear? This has been the third train of this recording session. Lucy starts trying to sabotage Beast and Rose's relationship. The most effective of these sabotages is she summons Beast to Rose's room during his hunting hours. As a beast, he does have the urge to consume animals, and hunt them, but he tries to do that when Lucy and Rose are not around because he doesn't want other people seeing him do that. But Lucy summons him, and so he bursts into Rose's room, like covered in animal blood and just like looking crazy, and he basically like scars Rose for life. And Lucy immediately feels terrible because she sees how bad Beast feels about scaring her. Beast and Rose do manage to recover from this little mess. Instead of like the magical hand mirror, Rose has like a magic wall mirror that like shows her visions of her family and things. She sees a vision of her father dying. So she's like, "Hey Beast, can I leave?" And Beast's like, "Yeah, that's valid. Go help your father." Lucy tells Beast that he is like one and the same with Jean-Loup, and he feels horrible about it, and he starts trying to find a way to like end Jean-Loup, because his logic is that if Jean-Loup no longer exists, then since Lucy is in a candle form to watch him, then that would like get her back her human form, and he wants her to get her back her human form so that she doesn't have to be like stuck there with him. But nothing works, so eventually Beast is like, I'm drink magic death potion and kill myself so that I can save you. Lucy really doesn't want him to do this, so telepathically she like summons Rose to come back to the place, and as she's doing that, she comes to the realization that she loves Beast, and when she does that, poof, she's a human now. She and Rose both are running to the Beast, but Rose gets there first, and Rose is like, "What do I have to do to save you? Say I'll marry you? Fine, I'll marry you." And then, like magic, Beast disappears, and Jean-Loup is in his place, and he's not behaving like a changed man or anything. He's exactly back on his bullshit, and Lucy's like, "Oh my god, Beast is gone forever, and now this asshole is back. I hate my life." Lucy goes to Mayor Sophie and is like, "Hey, what?" And Mayor Sophie reveals that basically many years ago, there was a couple who gave birth to a Beast child, and they were like, "Oh, he's evil and enchanted, change him to a normal boy." But Mayor Sophie could tell that this Beast child was actually like a very nice and kind and gentle person, and so changing him just because of his appearance was kind of rude. So as like a punishment to the family, the boy that she created in Beast's place was a shallow asshole, and she named him Jean-Loup. And so now Beast and Jean-Loup are essentially two souls taking up like the same physical space. And as long as one of them is dominant, the other like cannot get back through. So it seems like we're just gonna be stuck with Jean-Loup forever. But Lucy's like, "You know what? No." She goes to Jean-Loup on what is supposed to be his and Rose's wedding day, and she's like, "Hey, Jean-Loup you suck, but also you're not even worth hating because you just suck. You're not even real. The real Chevalier is Beast. You're nothing. And she also confesses her love for Beast. And something magic. Jean-Loup disappears. Beast is back. Lucy and the Beast run off and have a happily ever after, and Rose becomes the chevalieress. I don't know. She becomes the monarch of the area. She takes over the fiefdom, whatever you want to call it. The end. Alright, now on to the Goodreads comments. The most common complaint I saw was that people people read the book as Lucy falling in love with her rapist. And literally not correct. Like, Jean-Loup and Beast are very clearly stated to be separate people. And like they have their own like morals, beliefs, everything. Some people some people in the comments compared this to like dissociative identity disorder, but I'd say it's even more far removed from that because like Jean-Loup was literally like created by a witch. So, no, I don't think that this is a story about Lucy falling in love with her rapist. I think that it's a story about magic and uh, learning that just because you were assaulted doesn't mean that you're like a worthless person and that you can find love afterwards with a different person. That's what I would say the book is about. And readings saying that Lucy is in love with a rapist are, in my opinion, ungrounded in evidence from the text and bad. Second complaint I saw from people is complaints that there was not a content warning in like the book jacket or something that there was sexual assault involved. And I will say, like the description in the book jacket, it says that like Jean-Lou's a bad person. It doesn't say what specifically he does. So on one hand, I understand this because I mean I literally gave a trigger warning at the beginning of this video. Like, trigger warnings are important. But also, I feel like professionally published books are kind of held to a different standard when it comes to content warnings, and that they do not always need to include them, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm browsing fan fiction and I don't want to read anything that has major character death in it, then I can, like, scroll through the tags on AO Free or whatever. And I understand that because, like, fan fiction is a little more of, like, a leisure thing. Some people have compared it to like the fast food of literature, and that it's very quick, it's to go. It can be like heavy, but a lot of times it's just more light people, playing out this weird idea they had or this weird ship they like. Whereas actual published literature does not always have to have like the clear demarcation of tags and trigger warnings. For example, if I was reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and like at the beginning on the book jacket there was a thing that said like trigger warning, major character death, like that would suck because it'd be a spoiler. For a non-spoilery example, if I'm reading The Great Gatsby, there's no tag at the beginning of the book that says trigger warning, period, typical racism. Now, if you're reading the book in like a school classroom, as a teacher, I do think it makes sense to warn your students ahead of time because that can be like shocking. But if I'm just reading it like just me as a human, there's no like tag in front of the book warning me of things like that. And I guess you can make an argument that there should be, but like that's just not how published books work. And so complaining that this book doesn't have, like, that sort of thing. I mean, I understand how it could be upsetting, like if you were an essay survivor and you went into this book knowing nothing about it and then being hit with that in, like, chapter 4. I understand how that could be upsetting, but also, like, that's, like, books do not have content warnings typically. Like, that's not how anything works. I'm sorry. I don't know how to explain my point any better than that. Like, it's not how it works. And the final complaint that I saw on Goodreads a lot is that because Lucy cannot move, a lot of the scenes, because the book is entirely in her first person POV, people are complaining that because she cannot be, like, an active agent in the plot, that the book can be boring and drag at times. I see where people are coming from, but I think having, like, personally, it didn't, like, pacing wise or whatever, it didn't bother me. And I think that having her as, like, an immobile actor in the plot who's, like, kind of manipulating things behind the scenes, personally, I think that's cool. I think it's a very interesting method of storytelling and of creating plot, and I personally think it's cool. However, I also see how someone could think that it, like, drags a bit. So, like, I get that, but personally, I think you're wrong. But, like, I don't have a good counter argument for it. So yeah, let me hit you with a quote from a review that I disagree with. In addition, Beast, or Jean-Loup, was also portrayed as having a dissociative identity disorder, thus there was a change in his personality after being turned into his Beast form. But probably he has some really serious mental disorder, that's why he behaved like two different people. And it was quite predictable that Lucy has realized that she's fallen in love with Jean-Loup. It's ridiculous and absolute nonsense on how the victim got charmed by the one who raped her. For crying out loud, it's the same person. Literally not. It's not DID because it was created by a witch. How you're acting like there's no magic in this fairy tale retelling at all, and you're going with, like, the most bland scientific explanation for something that is literally explained to you in the book to be magic. You're wrong. Okay. You're wrong. That's what this video is gonna devolve into, just me being like, no. Okay, to finish out this video, I'm just gonna scroll through Goodreads reviews of this book and just give my thoughts. So there's someone here who has given a positive review. It's a 3-star review, and they even say that they don't consider Beast and Jean-Loup to be the same person. Good. But they specifically compare Beast and Jean-Loup to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but, like, no, because Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like, interact with one another, and, like, when Beast first awakes, he doesn't know anything about Jean-Loup, and when Jean-Loup comes back at the end, he even seems confused that like, he kind of doesn't know where he is, but he's, like, picking up context clues about the Beast as he goes. So no. So this is just gonna be me intentionally disagreeing with stuff, even with stuff that agrees with me. There were times when Lucy's narration was interesting, but for the most part, it was repetitive and dull. I would have preferred it if her time being a candlestick was significantly trimmed, but her being a candlestick is the plot. What do you not understand? After a very traumatic event happens to Lucy, her initial reaction is to end her life. Although forces prevent her from doing so, I didn't necessarily like how it wasn't clearly stated that Lucy shouldn't have considered this. Suicide is never the answer to any issues, no matter what degree of severity it holds. Yes, correct, but also, Lucy is not living in, like, a modern feminist world that has, like Planned Parenthood centers, or abortion that doesn't involve coat hangers. She lives in 1700s medieval France. So, like, I mean, basically, her only options are die a grisly death trying to abort the baby, die on the streets trying to care for the baby, or just kill herself ahead of time. I don't mean to be a downer, but like I absolutely understand why Lucy went to that solution. And though suicide is not good and you should not do it, uh, like I get it. Like I get it. Let's get right to it and say this is not your Disney fairy tale because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The pre-Beast Prince is a serial rapist. But wait, before you get upset, just know that it's not his fault because why should a man be responsible for his actions when you can blame another woman? And in this case, it's his mother because why not? I literally don't know what the fuck this person is talking about. I don't. I mean, I think his mother. I think it's implied that, like, Jean-Loup had a pretty shitty childhood and I think the mother might have been like the one to instigate his like wanting her beast son to become like a handsome boy. But like Jean-Lou's horrible nature is never blamed on his mother. Like he's a horrible person all on his own. I don't know what this reviewer is talking about. Hi everybody, it's Molly from the future. I wanted to elaborate on this point because upon reading a few other reviews and having my memory jogged, there is a scene towards the end where Mayor Sophie talks about how Jean-Loup was raised in like a terrible household and how his childhood like kind of like rewarded being a horrible person and that like molded him into the person he is today. But I would say that the book does not bring this up as like a way to excuse his actions. It is brought up as a way to explain them. Like we as a society have a tendency to not be able to talk about how abusers and like just in general bad people are created. We don't want to talk about how a normal person can be turned into an abuser or rapist. And like I understand where people are coming from because you don't want to go too far the other way and start like having so much sympathy for the abuser that you like delegitimize the victim's pain. You don't want to do that. But like, you know, there you have like the less than 1% of the population that is like psychopaths that have no empathy whatsoever. Those are the exception. But then 99.5 whatever percent of people do feel empathy and they were at one point a normal person and the way they grew up, their experiences molded them into an abuser, a rapist, a racist even, you know. And so you know, obviously don't be like super empathetic towards abusive people, but I don't think the book is like justifying his actions by explaining them. And I think asking questions about how someone turns into about how like an evil person got to where they are, I don't think we should be treating that as a bad thing the way that we do. I wasn't quite comfortable about the fact that Lucy's driving motivation was revenge from being raped, and I'm not sure how I feel about the mitigation of this plot point being addressed. So, Lucy's entire arc in this thing is that she needs to accept light, that there is still light in the world after this horrible thing has happened to her. Mayor Sophie, I think, explicitly says that at one point. She says that like because Lucy was able to accept Beast's kindness and not just stay single-mindedly focused on revenge the entire time, that is why she why her curse was broken. I know in my synopsis I said that it was because she admitted her love for Beast, but she actually I was actually incorrect. She doesn't do that until she confronts Jean-Loup. So, um, literally not correct. Like Lucy confronting her wrath and revenge is literally her entire arc. There was an odd dynamic because the central characters were just Jean-Loup, him as a beast, her, and Belle, her name's Rose, which lends for a quietly intense atmosphere. The setting wasn't very explored. I suppose we just know that we're in historical France where magical things happen, and the main focus of the story was just the twisty retelling. A lot of these reviewers have been complaining that nothing happened, to which I would say, do you not know what character-driven storytelling is? Because this is not plot-driven, it's character-driven. This is literally like that person in like your theater analysis class who like reads Chekhov and is like, I don't get it, nothing happened. Things did happen. It's called character development. Yet another new adult book pretending to be YA. I believe this one isn't available in bookstores and MG libraries, I don't know what MG is, and offered to 11 to 13-year-old children. Not like you-know-who books. Also don't know what you-know-who books are. I'll read it at some point, but I'm tired of this trend of it offering adult material to young children. I agree that 11 to 13-year-olds should not be reading this book because the rape scene is it's not like graphic. I've seen like more graphic assault scenes, but it goes on for like 2 pages. So yeah, if you're 11 to 13 years old, you should not be reading this book. Depending on your like maturity level, you could maybe start reading this book at like 16. So I agree with this person that this should not be marketed to like tweens. But does young adult specifically mean like 11 to 13? Because I thought young adult meant like upper teenagers, like 14 to 18. And so, I mean, like, I agree with you, but I'm not sure that the thing you're complaining about is an actual problem. I was scrolling and the author rated her own book 4 stars. Cringe. According to one of these reviewers, apparently this was the most disliked by Goodreads book of the year. I don't know if they have like a science behind that, or if that's just this person's personal declaration. But okay, I guess I'm fighting the entirety of Goodreads. Come at me. There wasn't enough to break up the monotony. I think a big portion of that was due to Lucy's POV because there wasn't a lot actually involving her. I felt like we spent a lot of time just sitting there basically looking out a window. But while she's looking out that window, she's watching the beast and commenting on what he's doing and commenting on her own thoughts about the beast and Jean-Loup. Like, I don't know how to explain to these people this is character-driven storytelling. Beast is real, Jean-Loup is not. Okay, so the man who raped Lucy isn't real, so doesn't it follow that she wasn't really raped by that logic? This is a dangerous line to walk because it is literally mirroring the minimization of so many rape survivors' experiences. Literally no. Because, like, it's a physical act that happened to her. And when Lucy says, Jean-Loup, you're not real, she's not saying, like you, the physical human being who lived on this earth for 20 years, like, don't exist. She's saying, that you, like, you have been put here to hide Beast. She's essentially saying, you're a pretender, you're a facade that some people put up to hide the beast from me. She's not saying that that he's like literally not real. This reviewer also raises the point that it would be better if Lucy could learn to move on without like needing a better man, and they compare it to a trend in other literature of like a rape survivor needing a better man to like restore their faith in humanity or whatever. I get where they're coming from. I would counter that, though I skipped over it in the synopsis, there is like a lot of time that elapses between Jean-Loup returning and Lucy confronting him, and during that time, Lucy becomes like an apprentice to Mère Sophie, and she learns a lot about like both about magic and about like emotional healing from Mère Sophie. So I would argue that she does that she does a bit of learning, of recovery on her own and with the help of Mère Sophie. But also I understand the trend of not just of rape survivors having to have a partner to be healed, but of like just like women having to be partnered up in general. So I understand where this commenter is coming from. I still politely disagree, though. And here's the thing, it didn't have to be rape. Why couldn't the Chevalier have seduced Lucy and got her into bed with her consent? Why couldn't he have then grown bored with her and gone on to the next conquest? Once again, I see what this person's saying. I feel like that plot would work better for a story where Beast and Jean-Loup are the same person, and he's like actually going through a character arc. But but I, but for the story that Jensen is telling, I think having Jean-Loup just be like the most supremely evil person ever does actually add a bit more like conflict to the story. I guess I agree with them that it's not necessary. I think it makes the book better, but I will cede this point. I'm okay with being wrong on this point. After Lucy gets her revenge, she is even more unlikable. It's hard to like anyone so consumed with hatred and a desire for revenge, especially when they have no agency to act on it. Oh, what? So is she supposed to not hate her abuser and want revenge? Like, is she just supposed to casually pick herself up by her bootstraps and get over that emotional trauma? No. And like the fact that her desire for revenge is wrong and unhealthy is her character arc. So like I mean, yeah, she's kind of supposed to be unlikable. It's an arc. The character, the way the character starts the book is not the same as the way they end it. I know I'm being really condescending, but like a lot of these reviews are written in a condescending way, so I feel justified. And B, I'm impatient and these people are wrong. So yeah. Reel in Rose, and we get another of my pet peeves, a subtle but constant waft of girl-on-girl hate. It's noticeable in the way that Lucy finds Rose's choice of reading materials to be frivolous, that she is reluctant to admit Rose is brave or kind, that Rose is a merchant's daughter looking for money, etc., etc. Lucy does not hate Rose because she's a girl or different. She hates Rose because she thinks that she's gonna break Beast's heart and also take away Beast from her and return her abuser. So, I would not call this a case of misogyny. I think if you rewrote Rose to be a guy and you had like a bisexual Beast, like I think it would be the exact same energy. So I don't think Lucy's dislike for Rose is explicitly connected to internalized misogyny. It actually dealt with really heavy stuff, which I wasn't at all expecting. I was keen for another cute Beauty and the Beast story, but it was so completely different to what I was expecting. You thought that the book with this cover was going to be cute? Alright, I scrolled through like the top like 30 ratings on Goodreads, and once you get to about rating 20, you start to actually get positive reviews, which I mostly agree with, but I can't sit here forever and just read through every negative review, so I need to go. My opinion about this book is that it's not perfect. If you don't like the pacing, don't like that she's a candlestick, then that's cool, and if the content matter makes you uncomfortable or triggers you, then I absolutely understand not reading this book. This book is not going to be for everyone. But, it's not as bad as a lot of people say. I think it was pretty okay. I enjoyed it. And so, yeah, that's my review. And, Abby, I'll see you on something.